Hey guys, welcome back to another Battlefield 6 tips video, and today I want to dive into 8 gameplay mechanics that I think you didn't know existed in this game, even though some of them might be obvious but not in the depth they actually exist. And this is already the case with the first one, because when you shoot through another body and hit a person that is behind this body, then your bullets deal 25% less damage than they usually would. Now, you might be saying that, yeah, of course, this makes sense because we have this penetration ammunition, but what the game doesn't tell you is that this effect also applies when you're shooting through your teammates or through dead bodies. When you have a gunfight, for example, and then a teammate is stepping in front of you and you have to shoot through your teammate's body, then your bullets will also deal 25% less damage to the enemy that you had been shooting before already, with 100% damage. And if a dead body is lying in front of you, no matter if this was a teammate or an enemy before, or if you're prone and you're in a gunfight or you're shooting at someone and then a dead body falls in front of your gun, then suddenly you will also deal 25% less damage when you shoot through this body. And all of this, of course, can be countered with this penetration ammunition. It's just something that you should definitely know about. Something you should also know about is that smoke grenades are actually your best friend when it comes to a lot of things, but they're not only useful to conceal your revives, for example, or to lay some smoke if you want to attack an objective, but what smoke also does is that it breaks all kinds of spottings, and here I really mean all kinds of spottings. It breaks the proximity spotting, so the hollow diamond that you see when you simply point your crosshair at an enemy, the 3D spotting, the manual 3D spotting that you have when you press the spotting button, where you can mark your enemies for you and also for your teammates. And when this enemy goes up in a cloud of smoke, or they conceal themselves in a cloud of smoke, no matter if this is your smoke or smoke from your team, or it is the enemy's smoke, it doesn't matter where the smoke comes from, then you won't see this red dot above their heads anymore. Not in 3D, so not in the world, but also not on the minimap anymore. And what smoke also breaks is the 3D spotting, but also the minimap spotting when you fire your weapon without a flash hider or a suppressor. So if you don't use any of those two attachments and you fire your weapon in a cloud of smoke, then you won't have that red dot above your head, and you will also not appear on the enemy's minimaps as a red dot. As soon as the smoke disappears, of course, then you will appear as this red dot again in 3D, but also on the minimap. Still, it's something that's very, very useful, and I think it makes using smoke, especially in modes like Breakthrough or in Rush, even more important. Then a little fun fact in between about the smokes as well. With the smoke, you can also extinguish incendiary grenades. So if an incendiary grenade is blocking a path, for example, or a doorway, or maybe there is an incendiary coming right at you and you will go up in flames, throw a smoke at your feet and this will stop yourself, but also the incendiary grenade from burning. Or you throw it at the staircase or the doorway and then you can pass through without getting hurt by the fire. And when you are in a cloud of smoke already and someone is throwing an incendiary grenade at you, then it will also not start burning at all. Now, I know that there's only one class that actually has access to smoke, which is the support player, but of course this means that when you play as a support player, then be sure to definitely take smoke grenades with you and a smoke grenade launcher as well, so you can assist your team with these smokes or use them for yourself as well. But most importantly, assist all of the other classes that don't have access to these grenades, assist them with your smoke. And another one for the support players that is really, really important: when you use the mortar as a support player, or you use one of the stationary weapons that you can find all across almost all of the maps, and you place a supply crate next to them, then they will reload much faster than they do without the supply crate next to them. And especially for the mortar, this is noticeable. And for the stationary weapons, for some of them, the reload is a little bit faster, and for others, the overheating effect that you get after a while will disappear faster than it does without the supply crate next to them. And of course, this also doesn't only work for yourself, so when you use the mortar yourself or the stationary weapon, but this also works for your teammates. So when you see a teammate on a mortar, for example, or on a stationary weapon, and they're trying to help your team, throw them a supply crate so they can use this weapon much more efficient. Next up, there are two things about the recon gadgets, and first of all there is the tox, and this one will spot you when you walk past it, but of course only when you move. So if you just stand next to it, it will not spot you, but if you walk past it, then it will spot you. And how you can avoid this is that you simply crouch and then crouch walk past the tox, and this way you can avoid triggering the tox, and you also can avoid getting spotted by it. And this also works for the claymores, by the way, so you can still walk past them, but you need to crouch walk. And then the second tip is for the recon drone. I'm not sure if this is too well known, to be honest, because the recon drone doesn't only spot enemies while you are actively piloting it, it also spots enemies passively. So you can just, for example, on rush or in breakthrough, you can just put it at a position and then you can get out of the drone and it will still spot enemies that are within its field of view. It allows you to just leave the drone there, move forward a little bit, then maybe get into it again, move it around a bit, leave it there again, and so on. And it will still spot enemies that show up on your minimap and also on your team's minimap without the need that you are stationary and you have to be actively in this drone. Moving on, we have a very important mechanic for tank drivers. When you hate to get blown up by mines all the time, then there's a mechanic that you should know about, and this is the crawl mechanic. On PC, this is pretty easy to do. You just press the left control button while you are moving with your tank, and then your tank will crawl. And this means that you move a little bit more slowly, but you will not trigger any of the AT mines. If you see an AT mine, or maybe for example on Siege of Cairo, there are some roads or some areas where it's very hard to see AT mines if they're lying around. You can just crawl with your tank along this area, and even if an AT mine would be lying around, then it wouldn't blow up your tank because you won't trigger it. And this also works for the mines that were placed by the EOD bot. Unfortunately, when you're playing on console or when you play with a controller, then you need to find this mechanic, or you need to find the key binding for it in the settings, and then you need to manually map this for your controller. So you need to find a button that you're normally not using while you are in a tank, maybe something like pressing the right control stick or something, to be able to use this mechanic on a controller. And lastly, another little tip or fun fact for the AT mines, or AV mines, how they're called. As an engineer, when you have AT mines in your inventory and you have all of them used up already, you can walk up to enemy mines, pick them up and replace them as your own mines. So this will fill up to 3 mines in your inventory. So normally you would be able to have more mines in your inventory if you fill them up at a resupply crate, but with the enemy mines, when you pick them up, you will only be able to have up to 3 mines in your inventory. So if you are down to 0, you can pick up to 3 mines. And you can also lay them again, of course, so that the enemy team or the enemy tanks will take damage from them. This is, I think, a pretty cool mechanic. I know this was possible in former Battlefield games as well, but maybe it's flying a bit under your radar in Battlefield 6, so be sure to make use of this as an engineer, especially on maps like Cairo, where there are AT mines lying around everywhere. And yeah, that was it for today. These were 8 gameplay mechanics that might be flying a bit under your radar. If you have some more of those, if you have some tips or some mechanics where you think that this would be interesting for other players to know as well, be sure to write them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video right here, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm TheCadWoman and you are awesome.